going to try to highlight aspects of my teaching that have to do, of course, with active learning, but I also want to give you an overview of how I structure my class. So I went through the impact program very early, so it's not that I transform my course, but since the very first time, I have been updating the course and trying new things every semester. So you can see here, these are pictures that were taken exactly in this same classroom. These are my students working. This is a typical class activity. We use large post-its, small post-its, whiteboards, so we really need all these elements of the classroom in order to be successful. Again, they have to integrate skills they've learned previously. They will also learn new skills, but we actually cover many of the things they have already learned. And then they have to apply information technology workplace techniques. And this is just an example of the kinds of things we do. This chart I downloaded it from the internet. It's called a Kanban chart to track progress in projects. So we try to model that this is actually that corner of the classroom. Students, I give them a large post-it. They try to organize the activities in the same way as the Kanban technique, and then they take that post-it home. And then they have to make an electronic version out of that. So this, as I mentioned, this is a technique applied in industry. And it can be applied to any type of project, not just software development. I mean, every project has a set of tasks that we need to organize. We have a team. We have to keep track of the project and so on. So I want my students to get that exposure to techniques that are used in industry, but at the same time, every class that has a project, you also have to do these things anyways. You have to manage the tasks, you have to assign roles to students, and so this is a way in which you can bring the best from industry and academia together, because we have to teach our students to learn how to work in teams. So again, another aspect of this course is that it's a project-based course. More and more, the project is becoming more important for the class. Before, it was a small portion. And students actually have to learn how to work in teams. And that aspect, I'm still working on polishing that aspect, because I let the students figure out on their own. And as we know from literature of cooperative learning, we have to also facilitate that process. So now this is the active learning portion. This is what happens in a typical class. So I start with an agenda of the day. I figure out students really like when you remind them everything that they have to do. And because it's active learning, I don't know if you've done active learning in your classrooms, but they feel it's very unorganized. They feel you come unprepared. So I tell them, like, it's by design that we are going to do these things. And by the way, here are all your milestones. I thought that they were mature enough to remember all the deadlines, but teaching evaluations like, oh, you should remind us of the deadline. Okay, I do that. So I tell them, remember, these things are coming up. So I start the class like that. So it sets an expectation of what they are supposed to do. And then I do a 15-minute lecture, just like I'm doing it right now. I explain the topic of the day. I provide the background information. And then throughout that lecture, I do an Angry Bird activity. So I don't know if we ask questions to students, right? And then I always have the kid sitting here, raising his hand, So what I do is I actually give them the question, and I let them work on the whiteboards. So everybody, as a team, they have to work on the questions. And then I take my Angry Birds, and then I give, team 1, team 2, and then I, toss it everywhere. I will pick it up later. Don't worry about it. And then I go, okay, let's start with yellow. And then the students on that table answer, and then they have to toss the Angry Bird. Now I have to give them a tutorial making the distinction between throwing and tossing, because then they are like, trying to knock out another student. So I have to show them with my grader the distinction between tossing and throwing. So in that way, you know, like everybody has to pay attention, everybody participates. So it's not the same kid raising the hand, because when you ask a rhetorical question or a question you actually want to get it answered, if you don't, you know, they have to be ready to catch the angry bird, they have to be ready to answer, so everybody, they don't know when they are going to be asked. And actually they love this activity.